All right, obviously, I teased the show today on Twitter a little bit, didn't I? Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget to like and share the videos if you like them. Like. And subscribe, of course. Best place to follow me is right there up on the screen. Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. Speaking of locals, if you are a locals member, and I think I even accidentally, it was an accident, but I was just like, whatever, if it streams to Rumble, it streams to Rumble. I think I actually put it up on Rumble as well. But if you were on the stream last night for locals, you know that this has been one hell of a week for the Trump administration. Can we get this pundit thing up there? Thank you. Actually, can I take over for a second? Let me check that on for size. Nah, let's just stick with the People's Pundit. It's crisper. It's crisper. You know? It's like my style. Crisp. Crispy. All right. Anyway, it's been one really hell of a bad week for the Trump administration. You might notice that the vice president hasn't sent a tweet. Basically, I don't know. We could go back and look, but it's been days. There are some people that are conscious about how bad this week has been, and there are others who are just completely clueless. The number of clueless people in the public has shrunk very, very significantly. All right. So if you were to just, and if you did watch the stream last night, if I'm being redundant here, just bear with me for a second because I want to put everybody up to the same speed. But this week was basically, and I think it's going to end. But there were some problems with an aircraft carrier, so they're sending another one. One needed an oil change, so pause the war while we send another one. So maybe it won't end or start the new week with it. We'll see. But this week was like the culmination of so much that we have been warning about. Like it became the climax point of all of the things that we had been warning about going back to even the spring and the summer of last year. And it just came to a head. And it's, somebody I was talking to, going over numbers with, had really said it best. And Robert was like talking about this as well, that he was in such a bad spot. He was in such a precarious position when this week hit that I wonder where it's going to go from here. And we'll know because we are going to be polling this weekend. That's a public poll for you guys to see. I'm going to be doing two things. One will be the annual poll for the 1776 project, which is Robert Barnes's organization that raises money to defend people on big civil liberties cases like vaccine injuries and stuff like that. And then the other thing, we'll just have some of our usual national tracking. And then, basically we're going to have a little bit of a collaboration on some of the stuff, but I don't jump too much ahead of myself. But any event, this week ended up being the week that basically those of us who were trying to shoot flares in the air and those of us who were trying to shine the big warning, sign, put the bat symbol in the sky, like, yo, wake up. This was the week we were all pretty much afraid eventually would happen. And if past is prologue, right? If past is prologue, it will not be a one piece. It'll be a two piece because that's how the administration has been knocking themselves out this entire second presidency. It's not just like a stiff jab to the chin, pop. It's like a jab followed by the overhand right that just is like this big two piece to the chin of MAGA. And eventually they're going to go down for the count. All right, so I don't want to rewrite everything. I just want to focus on how I didn't think any of this was inevitable. You're going to start to hear people start to say things like, oh, that's not why. It's a first-term incumbent midterm. And if the economy was better, blah, 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 blah. That's all bullshit. I'm going to make the argument to you today that this thing that we have been led to just accept, I think was shattered a little bit in 22, is this idea that midterm losses are inevitable. I don't believe that. I've never really believed it, although I had acknowledged that had been the history. And I'll tell you why I don't believe it. Because I believe that while it may have been true, It's an excuse. It's an excuse by people who are responsible for what we're going to go over for failing you. American history is not one with these wild and very frequent, let's call them frequent, because wild, we've seen wild. It's not one that includes frequent gyrations and frequent swings of the pendulum when it comes to political control. In fact, frequency of change in the balance of power is a modern phenomenon. And I'll show you in a second. I'll actually bring up, we'll do both the House and the Senate. I'll show you losses over the years for the House. I do think it's important for us to distinguish the difference between the older system, even though, yes, people were voting. They weren't voting directly for their senators. Of course, we had the 17th Amendment. So we will start with the first quarter of the 20th century anyway, with that as a caveat. But I'm still, I think it's very clear that the 17th Amendment has a hand in what I'm going to argue. And that's very simple. The thesis of it goes as stated, guys. This is now a system that has been fully captured by donors and special interests, foreign interests. And those captures, meaning, what do I mean by that? I told locals, you better get familiar with this word capture. I'm going to help you right now. It means even if they wanted to do something, even if they wanted to enact bold change, even if they wanted to fulfill campaign promises, even if they did, they couldn't. They're captured by the interest for whatever reason it may be. Perhaps you decided, I don't know, I'm throwing out a hypothetical here. Perhaps you decided that you wanted this time to just basically make sure that things that will benefit you, as an insurance policy for when you're not in office anymore, things that would benefit you are really the priority. In order to do that, you may have to roll around in the mud with some pigs. When you get in the mud with some pigs, you draw the attention of people. Those people may be people that your base wants to hold accountable, but now you can't. See what I mean? You've been captured. Could be something very silly, right? We're talking about the Epstein list a lot. It's all over the news, and that's about a pedophile, and it's clearly pedophilia now. At first, I used to make the very unpopular argument that it's not necessarily a pedophile, blackmail ring, because pedophilia, of course, refers to prepubescent. We now have multiple emails where some of it is outward to me. A 10-year-old girl, that 10-year-old, that's prepubescent. That's pedophilia. Okay. And then there are other things that are even, they're blatant. And then there are things that are not so blatant. But unless you're you could be two things: an idiot, or you can be somebody who's never known people in this stature, this class of society before. So you read it and you think, oh, that's normal. I guess he's talking about that. And then you realize that in that social, if maybe you just don't realize that in that social status, they don't talk about those things. They don't have those things. So beef jerky, for instance. Okay. Fucking multimillionaires eating beef jerky, folks. All right. Part of my French, right? These guys have like the finest chefs in the world making them filet mignon tacos for like breakfast. Are you kidding me? Stop it. They went down to the local Piggly Wiggly and picked up some Jack Links. Stop, bro. Just stop. Anyway, we're talking about the Epstein files, and that, of course, is something that's an easy story to tell, right? So you could be captured if you're in the Epstein files and people know what they're referencing, and it's even worse. Or maybe you like little girls, or maybe you like little boys, as one of those people. Lex Wexler. The big, the big rumor is that those aren't girls he's talking about. But in any event, that could be what I mean by being captured. And often in Congress and elsewhere, that's how they keep these people in line. But it could be other things, as you could money extortion, but you can go down the list. You guys understand what I'm saying? The bottom line is, even if they wanted to do something, even if they wanted to do the right thing, they couldn't. Even if they knew what the right thing was and they had a heart to do it, they couldn't. So when I say that this whole idea of this back and forth and this pendulum is an artifact of the system, it's a modern phenomenon. It's now an artifact of a system that has been fully captured by donors, special interests, foreign interests, and it leads to failures in representation. So what do I mean by that? A party gets elected. Actually, let's just say a president gets elected, and he gets elected with sweeping coattails, and he drags in a House, and he drags in a Senate majority with him, and they have a mandate, man. But they don't actually do it. Something happens. The coalition that elected them isn't properly represented. That failure in the system leads to widespread frustration, a feeling of betrayal, disaffection. The coalition fractures. Some people change their mind, go to other parties. Others decide they're going to stay home. And the opposing party, who may not even have a vision, it doesn't matter. They're running on the we're the anti-incumbent party. That's all. And the pendulum swings again. What I'm saying is those pendulum swings are nothing more than the voters reacting to the failures in the system, which is a failure of representation. It's not an affirmation of those parties' beliefs when in 2018, Democrats were able to take control of the House of Representatives, win a few Senate. They actually, Republicans won 2, which was the best since FDR, I believe. No. If they would have won Arizona, it would have been the best since FDR. They didn't. Thank you, Mitch McConnell, by the way. They won. It was the best performance in an incumbent presidency since Kennedy. Right. So in any event, that wasn't an affirmation of the Democratic Party. It was a pendulum swing being fueled by disaffection, frustration. And I'll go over 18 specifically because I'll make the case that 18 didn't have to happen. And the data is very clear. We don't even have to go all over it. I mean, some of this, if you were around back then, you know. But if parties governed as expected when elected, we would return to long periods and durations of uninterrupted party control. Period. And before we get into some of the, because I'll put it up on the screen in a second. Before we get into that, the Senate, I'll start with the Senate. There's something that, you know, I spend a lot of time thinking about that I think you guys need to start thinking about, because once you understand this anyway, and you're a smart group of people, you'll understand what I'm saying. Once you get this, what I'm saying, then this like anxiety starts to creep in. And it's like this very terrifying question. It's an obvious question, like, because once you understand, oh, this is what's going on, then the very obvious question begins to like sneak into your brain and cause concern. It's like, the question is, how much longer can we continue like this? The pendulum can't just keep swinging back and forth, because every time it does, the frustration is building. And by the way, they're not even governing right. Otherwise, there wouldn't be frustration. But the problems are getting bigger and the frustrations are building. And back when it was a functioning system, when the pendulum swung, after, by the way, a longer duration, after the pendulum swung, it acted as a sort of release valve, letting out all the steam that was building up in the pressure cooker that is American society. If the pendulum just keeps swinging back and forth, yet nothing changes, how does this all end? Before we get into the cases, I'm going to show you the history of this, and you'll see it clear as day how it changes in the modern era. You will see it. You'll even see it in the Senate. And then we'll go over each one individually. But before we do, because we're going to come up on the modern era pretty quickly, because like I said, it's longer durations of control. It's not going to be much to look at. I'm going to literally bring up the archive of Senate control. It's not exactly hard to find. But before we do, look at the situation with 2018. I'll never forget it. Paul Ryan sat down with Hannity and said something that I knew was totally false. And Hannity said, yo, man, I got to be honest with you, repealing and replacing Obamacare, this is going to be you got to do this. Like, you guys have been promising this for a long time. You got to get this done. Have you been working on this? Or like, what have you been doing in the in-between? Because when the bell rings and we're off to the races of this new administration, if you don't get this done, it's going to be a big problem, no matter what you do after. And honestly, once upon a time, Hannity, he's just a total showboy now. But he was right. And what he understood was it wouldn't really matter what else you accomplish after, because they chose to start with healthcare and the Obamacare repeal. And if they didn't get it done, that failure would overshadow all of their successes. By the time we get to, they fail. All right, ding, ding. Here's like a spoiler alert for people who are new or something to this game. They fail. And they fail in the most spectacular way. It's one of the most unstatesmanlike things I've ever seen in my entire career. John McCain, because of a petty reason, he's a tiny person on the way out. This is what this man chooses to do with the last few moments of his life. After campaigning himself through a primary with Kelly Ward that he was afraid he was going to lose, campaigning to be, I am the leader of the fight and the charge to repeal Obamacare, he does the infamous thumbs down. And he breaks his promise to every voter in the state of Arizona. Democrats seize on this failure. Why? Because during that debate, trepidation, fears over what Republicans would do to people's health care, particularly protections for pre-existing conditions, just kept building and rising and rising and rising and rising and rising. We watched it. Immigration was the number one issue. Maybe then, the economy. Then the economy was doing better under Trump, so went back to immigration. And then healthcare just started to rise. Then John Ossoff almost beat Karen Handel in a special election. She barely won by 5 points in a district that Price had won by over 20 points just a few months earlier. Nobody wanted to hear it. Rich, you're a panicking. Rich, you're a panicking. Rich, you're a panicking. Then healthcare became the number one issue for two reasons. One, angry Republicans who are pissed that they failed. We know it and see their kind right now in the polling. They were saying it, and they were saying they were going to stay home. Healthcare was my number one. They promised they would repeal and replace Obamacare. They're a bunch of liars. They're a bunch of frauds. I have been voting for them for almost a decade on this promise. They had their chance. They kept saying, give us more House seats. We gave more House seats. Give us control of the Senate. We gave them control of the Senate. We can't do it without the White House. Fine. Here's the White House. You have all three now. Go. Nope. Coupled with Democratic fear and the fear of moderate voters that Republicans were going to do something stupid because they couldn't keep a promise to a voter. So the Democrats see it, they exploit it. And they run on Republicans wanting to gut protections for pre-existing conditions. Understand it's total bullshit. It's total BS. It's not true, but it doesn't matter, as the defeated congressman from Minnesota so eloquently wrote in the Tribune after the election. The GOP failure to repeal and replace Obamacare and give the American public an alternative broke a 7-year campaign promise and doomed them to run against an unprovable hypothetical. No, our plan really didn't do that. Okay. I'm just supposed to take your word for it because millions of dollars in campaign ads are telling us you tried to remove protections for pre-existing conditions. The only way for them to combat the Democratic message would have been for them to do something, God forbid, Republicans ever do. Keep their effing word to the voter. They had to pass that bill so the voter could see firsthand that what Democrats were saying was not true. But they didn't, and voters didn't buy it. And the loyalists stayed home and they got their ass kicked. It is the reason they lost the majority in the House of Representatives. This idea that this is like fate, guys. What you keep hearing people say, well, it's inevitable. You know what I mean? Well, this is, after all, an incumbent midterm. What are you reading? Fucking astrology or something? Are we back in the Middle Ages and this is fucking fate? That's bullshit. That is a fabrication to remove the burden of responsibility from the failures who are captured by special interests, by donors, by foreign interests. In McCain's case, it was just personal, petty, small manitude. It's to alleviate the burden of their guilt for failing you. That's the truth. Let's bring up Senate control. Ta-da! Again, this is not exactly that hard to find. I mean, it's public knowledge. Let's start with the 1913 to 1915 Congress. All right, Senate control. This is the 63rd Congress. By the time we get to the 64th, we are what, guys? Come on, locals. What are we doing? What's going on right now? Something very important. Something very important is happening. The debating of two very, very, very important amendments, right? And you can see on that middle column there, that is the majority leader. On the right column, it's the minority leader, okay? And you can see, God, whole famous, by the time we get to 1919, we're entering essentially the Coolidge era, okay? Yes, Kern was there for the war. We had, of course, oh, well, somebody said the World War, and they're absolutely correct. I was thinking more of the domestic policy lines. You are absolutely correct. Of course, we were going through a world war at that time, but that's not the sum total of what was going on. In the back of the scenes, of course, Democrats are doing what, progressives, because Republicans had a part in this too. It's just, I did not mean to blame one party. The progressives, which is like, you know, unfairly blended with former populist movements, which had nothing really ever at all in common with populist movements, except for the rhetoric. The goals were completely different. And you guys, just so you know, you should understand that at the time the 16th and the 17th Amendments were being debated, they were being sold to the public as if they were for you, and it was total horse. It was not for you. The interests at the time, special interests at the time, were sick and tired of buying U.S. senators every 6 years. It's all about legislation having durability. You can't have a new Congress come in with another newbie senator whose special interests have not bought or bribed yet, come in and undo your precious Obamacare. Healthcare companies, big pharma companies, they can't have that, you see. So they need to entrench senators, and the best way to do that is through, and I'm sorry, vesting too much power in the popular sovereign voter, because our founders did not believe in vesting that much power in one area. Not that they thought you were stupid, not that they thought you couldn't, you know, this is why they had the state legislature elect senators to send to DC, because it was supposed to be their job. Your job was to earn a living. Your job was to keep the mines going, to keep, you know, the fields going, to keep the, you know, the conveyor belts going. Like, you had your own life. It's not possible. People aren't dumb. They're busy. You've heard me say that a lot. That was the idea behind it, and not vesting too much power into one thing. They break that system, small r Republican system, and they enact, of course, the 16th, 17th Amendment log rolling deal, 16th being the progressive income tax, and the 17th being the direct election of senators. And we move into a new era. But even still, you can see when we get into the Coolidge era, you have old famous Henry C. Lodge, a very, very famous majority leader, Senate majority leader, a Republican from Massachusetts, from 1919. Okay, from 1919, Henry C. Lodge until 1925, until he passes off to Charles Curtis in 25, who holds it until he passes it to Watson. And then finally, in 1933, Republicans lose control of the U.S. Senate. And Joseph T. Robinson from Arkansas becomes the majority leader. The Democrats will hold it, folks. They will hold it. Look at it. Are you ready? From 1933 until 1953, when Robert Taft from Ohio, another famous anti-war, by the way, another famous majority leader, will take it for Republicans. That is, look at 3 decades of Democratic control, almost uninterrupted, with the exception of a very quick and sharp turn, which I'll talk about more, in 1947. All right, what happened in 1947 that led to a big rebuke? Does anybody know? Class. It's a very, very brief interruption in Democratic control. Republican majorities did interrupt almost, 30-year Democratic rule completely. Actually, it turns out to be 40, because there'll be a brief reprise, and then Democrats will regain it again in 55. You'll see. And they'll hold it for like 40 years. All right. But what happened? They overstepped on the New Deal. So Roosevelt, now we're taught that the New Deal was super popular, but in truth, at the time, it was not. Social Security at the time went by something called old age insurance. And when we think of the New Deal now, that's what we think about. We think about temporary assistance. We think about Social Security. All right, that was not what Roosevelt pushed. It's just what remains of what Roosevelt pushed. All right, and I'll give you a little brief. Party control, all right, would go on basically for 4 decades for the Democrats, almost completely uninterrupted. All right, so the House, and this is the Senate you're looking at right now, but the House also experienced these very long periods of one-party control that almost essentially in the Roosevelt era will mirror the Senate, except for, again, like I said, in 55. It changes. This goes on. Let me just show you. This goes on with the House and the Senate. Like I said, look at this. Decades and decades and decades. Democrats are just totally, totally in charge. It ends finally when Republicans, we'll do some brief stuff here, but when Reagan comes sweeping in 81, Republicans will take over the Senate, and they'll hold it until what happens? Because I think this is really significant. What happened in Reagan's tenure? He was backstabbed by his own party. Reagan didn't get everything he wanted. The big changes that Reagan wanted, the big conservative, he was able to change the culture, but he was not able to change the government. He was only to change the government insofar as the culture would restrict it, would restrict its growth. But Reagan failed to do big things that he wanted to do, that he thought would have real lasting impact. The Department of Education, one of them. And Reagan's, let's just be real. I know a lot of people have fond memories of Ronald Reagan, so I'm going to try to be sensitive in saying this. After Reagan was shot, he began a slow and steady decline into the shadow of the man he once was. Neocons would get more and more power in his administration. They almost destroy his presidency with a little scandal, a little gun running. Anybody up for a little gun running? And then, despite the fact that the party really didn't like his vice president, he'll go and he'll tell the country to vote for him anyway. And his vice president does what? We've talked about this a million times. He goes on to betray his party. All right. Robert Byrd at this time will take over briefly until George Mitchell will get the reins here. But Herbert Walker Bush is effectively dealing with a Democratic majority. He was a sellout. Read my lips. No new taxes. He never believed in Reagan's style of economics. So by the time 92 comes around again, what had happened? A big fracture of the Republican Party. with moving into the Ross Perot coalition. That'll be the case for 10 years almost until his son comes back, only, by the way, cobbling it together with a certain vision, right? What did George W. Bush run on his daddy's policies? Did he run on, neoconservatism or a McCain vision? He did not. He ran as something totally different and was made fun of for it. The way that George Will and the rest of them who now pretend to be Reagan conservatives made fun of Ronald Reagan. The Gipper was no neocon. We can't be the policemen of the world. No new wars. We have a peace dividend coming. It's time to spend it on the American worker. Let's build our infrastructure. I got a great idea about a massive tax cut like Reagan, and we're going to give the peace dividend back to the American people because they know how best to spend it. Well, that went out the window, didn't it? So we're moving into, and by the way, what 94, just to give people an idea, Democrats lost 54 seats in the House in 1994 in the Republican Revolution. We haven't seen anything like that since 1946. Democrats lost. We talked about how Republicans have control in 47 briefly until again 55. But the reaction to the New Deal was 2 seats larger than the Republican Revolution in 1994. So Democrats lost 56 seats when they overstepped on the New Deal, and then didn't see losses like that again until the 94 Republican Revolution. Come 2010, they would lose 64, which again, I think it's important. Like there are big betrayal moments. And in those big betrayal moments, you see the biggest change. I think with this map, it's going to limit how much Republicans could lose, but I do think that the significance or the impact of it'll still be pretty significant. And at the upper chamber level, I think that, it's always exhibited this resistance to the wilder swings we saw in the lower chamber. But I think if this continues, we're probably going to start to see less of that. Also, because a lot of people foolishly think that certain states are red and solidly red because of Trump's performance in them. And they don't seem to understand that, number one, without Trump, even if he was the golden boy to every voter still, without him on the ballot, they can't do it. And then even with him on the ballot, they struggled in several of these states. But now he's not the golden boy. And I think that Republicans are very likely to find out that certain states, find out like Democrats found out, like Obama found out, that certain states maybe weren't as solid for you as you thought. Don't forget, Obama won the state of Iowa by 12 points. But Rich, look at how many more Republicans there are. That is almost explicitly due to MAGA and Trump's brand of republicanism. Almost exclusively due to that. Without it, it's now no different than Democrats without Obama being the golden boy, by the way. All right, so again, we have the 94 Republican Revolution. That's like where there's this big major shift and we start to see the back and forth. I think we see big market breaks. We have the .com era. The war era continues again. And I think that the rising strength of the military industrial complex has a big role in this. Because what winds up happening towards the end of the 20th century and into the 21st century, the forces that have made this a captured system grow stronger. And it's almost, if you believe, like I do, that the 17th Amendment specifically, certainly coupled with the law as a log rolling deal with the 16th, I mean, the power to tax and the power to regulate makes a senator very valuable, because now the Senate can issue competitive advantages to certain companies. So over time, we've talked a great deal about this in the past, average tenure in the U.S. Senate began to rise. Senators got more powerful. Incumbency became more entrenched. Interest groups became more powerful. We would only expect the system to become more and more captured. It wouldn't get any freer. It would get more captured. And as that has become the case, I mean, to put it bluntly, we see more and more campaign promises go down in flames and become broken promises. We see one president after the other campaign on something that when he gets into office, he turns his back on. This pace of seeing has accelerated because the system itself is more broken. As it becomes more and more captured, even if these people were once good people who wanted to do something, when they get there, they can't. It's 12:39. Give me 1 second. Leading to a very different pattern, much shorter durations and frequencies of swings in that pendulum than what we had seen in the past. Even during, it took a monster landslide like Reagan, a huge, because it just wasn't Reagan won so bigly. It's that Reagan changed the psychology of the country so big that in 1981, they ended decades of Democratic rule. But then what happened? Republicans turned out to be Republicans again, and it shifted right back. And that held for 14 years. 14 years. And only after that swing, and only after that pivot point, the 94 pivot point. And what did Republicans do with that, by the way? Use Congress as a fucking bank. Maybe I'm old and I'm showing my age here, but do you guys remember that scandal at all? Maybe some of you are too young. But it was one of the most humiliating things. Some of Russia's best stuff is back in the day, man. He didn't really like TV, but it was back in the day. You could just see the frustration on his face. Like, you got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. This is what you do? You take the contract with America? This is what you do? So Republicans have long done this to their voters, whereas Democrats have not. It's not only that they have had more time to change the course of the country in the direction that they wanted to change it in, to change the nature of the relationship between the individual and the state. So much more than that, they're also true believers and more willing to use that time. And why is that? And again, this all really does. I mean, if you guys will listen to the show, like, none of this really should surprise you, because the forces that capture the system on the Democratic side are much more aligned with their voters and their lawmakers. They share a worldview. And that's basically always been the case. That has never been the case with the Republican Party. Not in the modern era ever. And by modern, I'm even going back to before 94. In the beginning of the 20th century, modern era, starting with, I mean, if you're going to change the way we elect our government, you have to start with that point in history. That has to be the modern era. All right. So when you're taking the entire time frame of the modern era, you can see that these wild gyrations or pendulum swings are relatively new. They are a very modern phenomenon in the modern era. And now here we are again. Again, look, Harry Reid had some decent control for a while. Of course, in between, guys, there's, what's the word I'm looking for? There are caveats and certain things that have to be remembered in between to put everything in its proper context. Of course, we have census that are conducted. They go on to lead to reapportionment and redistricting. So, there are little caveats here and there, but when you look at the overall trend, it's actually been pretty clear. It's 2:43. So because I know I'm probably not going to be able to do what I normally do on a Friday, I'll try to get into some of your questions now. This isn't a question, but I mean, I just got to put it up on the screen. Guys, we went from, can I do this? Is there a way for me to show you the before and after? I mean, to give you an idea of how bad this week was for the Trump campaign. We went from, including young girls, everybody creating these memes, Eat the dogs, eat the cats, eat the cats, eat the cats. We went from that and Trump and Vance being the cool ones to now they eat the children memes with Jeffrey Dahmer. And I think, listen, he's taken a lot of shit on social media. So I felt like I really had to tell everybody the day that Pam Bondi gave her absolutely atrocious testimony before Congress, her unserious, ridiculous appearance. The day that she did that, that evening, Mark and I were talking, and Mark predicted that there would, in fact, be Jeffrey Dahmer memes. He was like, yo, you remember, like, eat the dogs, they eat the cats. And then we start joking, eat the cats, eat the cat. And of course, we're just like kind of having fun. And he's like, dude, they're going to do Dahmer things, bro. They're going to be, it's like, now the Democrats, were defending people who eat the cats. And now it's like Republicans defending people who eat the babies. And I'm like, oh God. And I joke and we laugh, but I think I even said, oh, that wouldn't surprise me at all. And sure enough, yesterday, the Dahmer memes started to come out. And what's the difference between Jeffrey Dahmer and some of these people? I don't know. Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't rich. Jeffrey Dahmer didn't have political friends, connections, influence. And Jeffrey Dahmer probably ate less people. Let's put this over a little Roseanne Barr thing. Everyone was making fun of Roseanne when she said this to Tucker, and now like it's not so funny, is it? It'll give me a second to take water and take a break.
They eat babies. That is not bullshit. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh, and they drink human blood. They do, Tucker. Stop staring at me like that.
You're freaking me out, man. Because you spent your life in the entertainment business, so I think you have some authority on this.
So many kids that I was in mental institutions with over the years, they are all from those cults, and they've covered it all up. They covered it all up, and I just pray to God. I'm just going to pray to God that he opens everybody's eyes in this country. By the time we go in to vote for Trump, that he will open up everybody's eyes and they will stop pretending to be asleep.
I'll just stop her there, but man, we've come a long way, haven't we? To now some Trump supporters defending Jeffrey Epstein. And it's funny because when I look around and see who's doing it, like Will Chamberlain, almost, well, he didn't almost. His commentary did derail Donald Trump's presidency. He was a COVID cheerleader, and he, completely misanalyzed, if that's word. He completely misread that political landscape. Donald Trump went down in flames. We had COVID. It was probably one of the darkest times in our country's history. People were forced to take things and put them in their body that were neither proven to be safe nor consented upon, so I mean, just terrible political instincts. And then went on to support DeSantis hilariously because Will said that Trump was a COVID lockdown guy. I kid you not. Go look it up on X. And now he's like, blaming anyone who wants to see the Epstein files for what's in the Epstein files. And this seems to be a problem with the administration. They seem to have an issue with people who want to talk about the things that are either being done wrong, that are dirty, and Will's connected to one of them, by the way, it's his boss, et cetera, instead of talking about the actual dirty things. You understand what I'm saying? And this bothers me when I hear people that I respect and I, in some ways, even admire, right? I think have great potential, use words like trustworthiness when they're trying to convince me that they're in the right, or at least that they're in a bad position. Trustworthiness is a word in DC that doesn't mean what it means outside the Beltway to the rest of you, to me, to the rest of Americans. Being trustworthy in the real world means that you can be counted on to tell the truth, to not do something wrong, right? In DC, being trustworthy means you won't tell on someone for being a crook. It means that if I vote for your shitty legislation, I can trust you to vote for mine or support in some way, shape, or form some agenda that you have. So if I have an agenda and I want to do this, I don't know, let's just use antitrust. If I want to make sure that I block this deal because I think this deal's got to be blocked, it's the right thing to do. In DC, what they mean by trustworthiness is that you have to be trustworthy enough now to let them make millions putting other bullshit deals through that are not in the best interest of the consumers and the voters. That's what trustworthy means in Washington, D.C. It's not the same. Come a long, long way. I'm sure somebody else will have a question about this and we can circle back. This is a really good question. Gillian, I don't know the answer to this, but I do think that that's a really good question and something I think about more. I tend to think we're probably at the end of the road. You can't have a two-party system that fails everybody. You can't have a two-party system that fails everybody go on forever like this. Guys, it won't happen. Eventually it will lead to violence. I'm not saying that as a threat. That's history. If these like gaps in society, whether you're talking about wealth, fairness under the law, whatever it may be, if they continue to widen, eventually the masses will just start breaking shit. That's it. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing. Or even worse, what tends to happen, because Republicans are so stupid, they think they got all these deals cut. When you're corrupt in Washington, D.C., you're never safe if you're a Republican. Never. They'll always have it on you. And your only defense against that is your standing with the American public. And as, many of the people entrusted to guard and defend the city did to the Romans when the Visigoths came, the voters are just going to step aside. Go get them. So that will lead to something like what I think you're saying here. The last time this happened, brother, we saw a fracture to the Ross Perot coalition. He got 20%, roughly 1 in 5 voters who cast a ballot in the 1992 election. Of course, he would fall. He lost basically half his support by the time we got to 1996. But why? Because things were doing good. There were even a lot of Republicans who said, shit, I'll vote for Bill Clinton again for a second term. Things are all right now. Things are going good. The economy's doing well. You had to be like a Rush-like conservative to vote against Bill Clinton, and that's what happened. Bob Dole, of course, got, his fair share of like the people held, but the share for the pro coalition only fell because the country was going and it was doing well. We don't have that luxury now. The country is not doing well. Okay? Sorry, Trump voters, but you're not actually winning. Look what happened with Pete Hegseth yesterday. You can't even get a judge to allow Pete Hegseth to reprimand one of his own. Mark Kelly's a senator. Now, I used to wear the uniform. Others, I'm sure, listening, you guys used to wear the uniform. You know damn well you and I would not be able to get away with what Mark Kelly did. But he's a senator. He's privileged. That shit can't continue forever. Eventually, people just start breaking stuff. I do want to go. I'm trying to get through the questions because I do want to go over the Senate. I'll come to you locals in a second. I do want to. They didn't see this, so if you could bear with me, I'm just going to do it on 270 real quick. Man, I got to stop these ads, dude. Jeez, is there a way to stop this? So much. Let me kill this. Yeah, look, it's Truitt. Yeah, The People's Pundit Wardrobe is brought to you by Grants and Charles DeWitt of London. It's both of them are up there, so it's all right. Let me bring this down. Let me just show this real quick, and then I'll go to you locals, and then we'll go back to, I'll just go back and forth between you guys and your tips and chats for questions. This is where all these people who think that the Senate can't go, it can. The Senate absolutely can go Democratic. You may watch, now I have my account open, so I don't want to show you, but you may look and see on both Predicted and Kalshi the odds that the Democrats win the the odds that Democrats win the Senate are now up to 38% chance. They were nothing when Robert Barnes and I were trying to tell people that, in fact, Democrats will win the Senate if they keep this up. The Senate is just not as secure as people think it is. And here I'm going to show you why. I'm going to start the basis on where the National Republican Senatorial Committee polling. All right. This is where they're at. All right. Let me pull this up. Let me zoom in so you don't see all that. How do I stop this shit? I love 270, but it's like, my God, guys, the ads are just too much. All right. Does that help at all? Make it a little bit better? Yeah. I'm going to make my own. I'll just make Data Wrapper. I'll make one with Data Wrapper. High Charts is like, I still do think that High Charts probably still is the best clickable one. But in any event, let's reset it. Let's make sure it's reset. Okay. Here is what the National Republican Senatorial Committee's polling shows right now. Okay. This is what they show. Iowa and Ohio are tied. Sherrod Brown and Husted are tied. Dimwit, who caucused for Nikki Haley so she could win one caucus site in Johnson that gave her one county. Trump would have won every single county in Iowa in the 2024 Republican caucuses, if not for the now Trump endorsed Republican candidate. I kid you not. It's just like, somebody like Jim, who was a popular state legislator, had no prayer to get that endorsement. And, you're just not going to have people piling out for her. You're just not. So anyway, that race is tied. Ohio's tied. For those who think that polling is wrong, I'm not saying the NRSC is the best pollster in the world, but I will say this. In Iowa in 2018, Republicans lost every single congressional race. It swung back dramatically away from Republicans. In Ohio, which was a little bit more resistant to the swing, Jim Renacci still got his ass kicked by Sherrod Brown for the U.S. Senate, and Mike DeWine barely won the governorship against Richard Cordray. So if you think that those are just red states because Trump won them by 13 points, you're wrong. Oh, by the way, I forgot something. Yes, South Carolina is single digits, and it is, I suspect, for two reasons. One is one that I found in my own polling in South Carolina. If Lindsey Graham is the nominee, the Republican nominee, 25% of Republican midterm voters say they will not vote for Lindsey Graham. They either won't come out and vote for him at all, or they'll vote for third party, which will be a libertarian candidate, by the way, or they will consider, about 10% of them say they'll consider voting for the Democrat. That's what they're up against if Lindsey Graham is nominated. Okay. North Carolina's gone. We're not talking about this right now until I see any. That's my state. You think it makes me happy to say that? It doesn't. Roy Cooper is kicking Michael Whatley's ass. Michael Whatley didn't even want to be a senator. Trump asked him to be because Laura passed on it. He inspires nobody. The ads just started, so we'll see if it tightens. But he is down in every poll, and look, others have had big single-digit leads. Cunningham led by 11 at one point over Tillis in 2020. Not in our polling, he didn't. It was always single-digit races in North Carolina, always. It is not. It's an 8-point lead for Roy Cooper. I've never found an 8-point lead for anybody in North Carolina. Nobody. Dan Sullivan is losing to Mary Peltola, losing in Alaska. Maybe that'll change, but right now, he is losing. And thank you, Lisa Murkowski, who changed the state's laws so she could survive a primary challenge. Ranked choice voting is going to make, I told you this would happen. I said it when they did it. And for the schmuck who tried to counter me on Twitter the other day, the rural vote in Alaska is Democratic, you stupid bastard. That goes to show how much you know about the state of Alaska. When Hawaii and Alaska were added, it was widely thought that Hawaii would be a Republican state forever and Alaska would be a Democratic state for the foreseeable future. Alaska became more Republican, actually, as they're not metro areas, but as more urban and suburban areas began to grow in the state in and around places like Anchorage and a larger military presence from the Coast Guard, etc. That's what turned Alaska red. And the economics that came with that. Rural Alaska's blue, dummy. And Hawaii is going to be blue for the foreseeable future. So it looks like Republicans got the ass end of that deal too. Thank you, Lisa Murkowski, who continuously says, I didn't have anything to do with that. You sent your staff to Alaska. He literally came back. The guy who led that effort left Murkowski's office, went back to Alaska, led the effort, got it passed, came back, got the same fucking job. John Ossoff is way ahead in Georgia. Moving on. Even if it doesn't happen, let's say Republicans were to hold both these states. Let's say, wow, they did. They won, and they won kind of easily. All right, but Dan doesn't. And Michael Whatley doesn't make a comeback. And Susan Collins loses. You'll think, oh, you know what? They held Iowa, they held Ohio, and now Vance can break the tie. Wrong. Especially if Susan Collins loses in Maine. Lisa Murkowski is going to switch parties. Yup. She's going to switch parties, and she's going to caucus with the Democrats, and she's going to claim to be an independent, and then you'll have 51-49, and Vance's tie-breaking vote won't mean dick. And she's doing it. Believe it. It should be. In fact, if this scenario happens in November, the next day, Kalshian predicted should put up as a betting market, will Lisa Murkowski change her party? Because it's going to happen. Listen, if I know multiple people who have been told this by Lisa Murkowski, believe me, the Democratic media knows it too. Believe me, the Murdoch media companies know it too. They're not telling you, but it is true. So you'll still lose the Senate. You would need this to happen. That's what you would need. And even still, she may fuck you. She may. Why? Because she would say, you know, the voters in my state spoke loud and clear. And I think I'm going to have to, vote my conscience and represent my state. Even though they didn't vote loud and clear. 60+% of them vote against Murkowski every time she's up for nomination. The only reason why she wins is because of the second round of voting. If you don't know how ranked choice voting works in the state of Alaska, familiarize yourself with it. We could do a show on it if you want, but it is a little bit different than ranked choice we've seen in Maine and other states, okay? I don't want to get too much in on it right now. It's 303. Anyway, multiple ways that you can absolutely see Republicans losing the Senate, all right? Texas is also very, very close, but for right now, in the hypothetical advantage with Cornyn, against Tallarico or against Crockett, and it does look like Democrats are going to freaking nominate Crockett. But still, I'm laughing, but it's actually nothing to laugh about, because if Paxton is only ahead by like 2 points in, given everything we know and Crockett said, and it's a bad environment. It's a very bad political environment. But if they do, that's great, and let them deal with that, and we'll go from there. My God, what the hell's going on? That thing is like giving me I should have put a warning up. Jesus, 270 to win. The ads are too much, man. Great site, too many ads. Almost like, I'm sorry. I mean, somebody could have like epilepsy in the crowd, man. Jesus with that shit. It's just crazy. Yeah. No way. I love you guys. I gotta put this up, man. I gotta put this up. What's up, guys? My managing editor shot this down. Check this question out. Is it that some visitors to Epstein Island consumed human flesh? Holy shit. Do I have the balls to ask that this weekend? Do I? Oh my God. Absolute champions over at Rasmussen. Absolutely. Andrew on locals, which I can't put up. Oh, you got the, okay, I know who that is. That's the meme with Sly, right? Is JD savvy enough to understand what happened, stop defending retardation from the administration, and plan for 2032? I mean, we'll get some of the stuff he said before that, guys. We'll just get into. Slater was fired. Trump doubling down on pay for play. Pam Bondi's Dow at 50,000. Why prosecute pedos? And I don't know if Lutnick's family vacation with Epstein bullshit. Guys, you can't say that you were unaware that Lutnick was in the Epstein files and then in the same breath say, but I understand he was there with his family. Like, you either knew or you didn't know. Like, did anybody else catch that? Andrew obviously did. What a load of bullshit. I know. They listen, at this point, including from my guy we just read the comment from before with the human flesh consumption comment, they have all been told, multiple people by smart people, what they need to do to course correct. They are choosing not to course correct. You understand? And by choosing, I mean, you could even call it capturing. There's a capture happening, but it's still a choice. Because if in any way I was captured, I would probably burn it all down with me on the way out. But that's who I am. Now, most are going to tell you that's a stupid thing to do. I'm going to make sure my family's okay. I'm going to make sure this. I'm going to make sure. And I get that. That's what most people would do. I, however, think I would not. Ryan P says we are officially in we are fuck territory. I got to get one of these things that translates so you can actually hear it over the thing. I know on Rumble Studio there's a way to bring you guys in now. If you're on locals or you're on Rumble, there's a way to bring you in and you can say it, I know. Remember that one? Remember this TikTok? You remember the Getter Talk? It was a Getter Talk. MAGA Christmas list was save the children, public justice, and accountability. And it's Trump with Melania in front of a big old Christmas tree outside of the White House. Melania in a gorgeous red dress, looking cartoon fly, with Santa flying overhead. And it's like, this is the MAGA wish list. And it's just and of course the commenter is saying MAGA traitor, because it's totally different. And the Corey Mills thing, clearly, guys, I mean, I don't want to just say it out loud, but you're not stupid. All right. How do you think Corey Mills got the endorsement? Excuse me. I got to sneeze. Ching! Excuse me. Itchy nose. I mean, you're not dumb, and I'm not going to I'm just not going to pretend you're dumb. Whew. Now, great question by Ryan. With the passage of the SAVE Act at this point, does it even have a chance of saving America? Also, don't forget to get your tickets to see and talk to Rich in person. Don't forget Barnes, too, right? At Minnesota Lincoln Reagan Dinner, March 21st, 2026 in Brainerd, Minnesota. I got to put that up, actually. I'll put the, actually, let me like send out that link. I'm going to send it in all the chats. Yeah, guys, if you can make it, it would be great. All right. I'll send it in YouTube as well. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to stay positive, upbeat. We're going to have a lot of fun, but, you know, always got to tell the truth, you know? Let's see what else. I got so much on locals. I'll come back to you in a second. YouTube, I just got quite a bit. Rich, do you think Trump is letting the shit? I'm like afraid to read Greg's question. Okay, Rich, do you think Trump is letting the corruption continue and participating in it, banking on his pardon power? Yup. I just see what I mean. Like, guys, you see what I mean when I told you, like, what is being asked of me is incompatible with who I am. Like, it's not possible. I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't. Not that I'd effing hate myself, number one, but it's not possible to be me and do that. Oh, wait a minute. I thought she was going back to get a different one. I thought it would be, what would I charge? Probably around like 15K. Yep. Did you bring back the... Okay, let's see what you said. I don't want her leaving with maybe she's wrong. Maybe I'll have to go test drive it. Saying like it just turning off on its own. It's like a new car. But it is a rental, and I don't want to go anywhere with my daughter if a car is just turning off mid friggin' drive. But yeah, Greg, the answer to that is yeah. That's what I think. It's exactly what I think is going on. And if like, you know, you're doing something wrong. All right, look, guys, like I'm saying, like, let's talk about the firing of Gail Slater. Let's just do it. Okay. Did you guys read the Guardian piece and the other pieces that gave a little bit more insight into it? It actually did give you some decent insight into like what was going on there. The problem wasn't that lobbyists were turning the antitrust division into a pay-for-play slush fund, and the DOJ is all like that. But that's not the problem. The problem is that Gail Slater wouldn't go along with it and then did the wrong thing in response to it. Okay, so Gail leaked this. Gail, let's fuck this. Can I put a PDF up in here? I can. Slides and PDFs. My computer. What is the name of that PDF? Let's do it. I didn't throw it out. I know I did. Oh, it's under Wall Street Journal. We support Google Slides, PowerPoint, and PDF. Well, that's good because I will be doing a PDF. There it is. All right. We're going to read one of the articles that people in the administration claimed was leaked by Gail Slater. All right. And I'm sure I'm not supposed to be getting this much into it, but I think this is the only way I can really do this. Here is a piece that they claimed was leaked by Gail Slater. I know. It's crazy. I couldn't go any lower than that anyway, even if I wanted to. All right. Can I zoom in it like that? Oh, it's slide by slide. Wall Street Journal, real estate brokerages avoided merger investigation after Justice Department rift. Let me take a drink or something. Did you go and switch that thing up? What, my tie and my vest? Yeah, this girl told me to do it. You think I dressed myself?
Well, she knows.
You think I would know green would go with charcoal? Dark green? By the way, you want to feel it? Feel the tie. Feel the vest too, but feel the tie. It's great, like that. Like it's totally. It's on another level. It is. I'm not gonna lie. It's on another level.
Some hot guy. Let me get
I know. What an idiot.
Right?
What a cuck. Anyway, Compass hired a Trump-aligned lawyer and won antitrust clearance without detailed probe that some enforcers wanted. Already with the headline and the sub-headline, does it sound like it's in Gail Slater's interest to leak? It makes, speaking of cuck, she would be cucking herself if she leaked this to the Wall Street Journal, okay? Justice Department antitrust enforcers wanted to investigate the $1.6 billion merger of the country's two biggest real estate brokerages, but were overruled by senior officials who thought the deal should be green-lighted, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, why didn't the antitrust division want to approve this? I don't know, guys. If you're taking the two biggest brokerage firms in the country and merging them, home prices are probably going to go through the fucking roof. And that wouldn't be very MAGA, would it? Do I really have to read anymore? You know what? I mean, how many is this slide? There's like 2 slides. That's it. Okay, let's read it. I'll read it really quick. I'm a quick reader, so I'm not going to stop. Just keep up as we go, all right? Compass and Anywhere Real Estate closed their deal on Friday, one of the largest ever combinations in the residential brokerage industry. That is far earlier than the time frame of at least 9 months that the companies predicted when they announced the merger in September. The outcome shows how companies have found ways during the Trump administration to quickly consummate mergers that would typically face close antitrust scrutiny. Does this sound like something Gail should leak? Or does it make her look like she's not doing her job and it makes her look like lobbyists are running all over her? Now, if you were the lobbyist, on the other hand, and by the way, if it was Gail, would she leak it to the Wall Street Journal? No. If you're the lobbyist, if you were the money-hungry scumbag lobbyists who are fucking over MAGA for your own personal benefit, you would leak it to the Wall Street Journal where all your corporate clients could see it. The head of the Justice Department's antitrust division, Gail Slater, wanted to launch an extensive review of the merger to weigh whether it was an anti-competitive. The people familiar with the matter said. Let me just say this, because everyone's going to find out who the leakers are. All right, because now there are going to be people who are leaking. They cut one person, all right, who has no government aspirations whatsoever. He knows it's just the most disgustingly corrupt thing he's seen. So he's been talking to Democrats and the media. That's what you get when you do this. But only if you're a dumb wannabe criminal. He's not even a good criminal. He's an idiot. Today, a reporter contacts him and says, hey, bro, do me a favor. Can you tell me whether or not you even registered as a lobbyist for this deal? He says, go fuck yourself, and then puts it on Twitter like he's owning the guy or something. Asshole. That's evident. You've been tweeting nothing but evidence of a crime for weeks. And now you just drug? Because the antitrust division, guys, is the vice president's baby. So when the vice president is denied the nomination, because, by the way, as of last looking, 56% of you want J.D. Vance to be your nominee if you're a Republican voter watching this. If that doesn't happen, you can thank them. You didn't get the nominee you wanted, but fuck, man, Mike Davis made $5 million. Back up again. Compass had brought on Trump-aligned lawyer Mike Davis, known for his efforts to get conservative judges seated on the federal bench, to help make their pitch. Davis has become a sought-after advisor to companies with deals facing government review. He helped Compass make its case to Blanche's office. Davis, Compass, and Anywhere declined to comment. Anywhere owns brands including Century 21, Coldwell Banker, and Sotheby's International Realty. This is the trick he does, by the way. He throws this shit in the media, and then when they call him, he's like, no, I decline. No, I decline to comment on the record. You can talk to the record and give them, you can talk to the reporters, guys, and give them the story, and then say, but it's off the record. This is on background. They didn't say they didn't speak to him. They said he declined to comment on the record. I hate to tell you guys, but you got fucking played. And you guys know who I'm talking about. Gail didn't even know how to play the game. And that's a big problem with Washington, D.C. The scum The good people don't know how to play the game because they have such little experience being scumbags playing the game. And then because she wouldn't sign off on shit, they started playing little games with her. Like the conference, which you can read about and see before now and in the AP now. That's right. It's in the Associated Press now. By the way, the blowback to this is far worse than I warned them it would be. Far worse. Far worse. I did not expect this many right-wing personalities to go nuts off of this. Now, I knew they would get some true MAGA blowback, like real MAGA blowback. I did not expect some people that I've seen outwardly calling him out to doing this. But of course, why? Because now it doesn't even matter, dummies. It doesn't even matter if you get the antitrust division to back off. The state cases are already open with that deal that what's his name was talking about. Not in this one. This is another merger. But in the Ticketmaster deal, there are already cases open. Live Nation. One of the judges smells shit with the Hewlett-Packard deal, is ordered Davis and Schwartz to testify. And I don't want to bring in Schwartz because I don't really know. I don't know him that well, and I don't know his specific role in this. All of these soon-to-be, well, Epstein is a full-blown scandal already. But all of these soon-to-be scandals were all so avoidable. And it's doesn't matter what their side of the story is. Oh, I didn't know this happened. Oh, I didn't know this. I didn't sign off on this. This happened without my knowledge. Blah, blah. Doesn't matter. It's too easy of a story to tell, and no one's going to believe you. And when you're concerned about whether you can trust this one not to run, look, when the attorney general doesn't like you, you offer to go, which every other assistant attorney general for antitrust has done, gone to this conference every fucking year. I'm going to the conference. Denied. She goes on her own dime. They cancel her credit card. Guys, give me a break. Just cut the shit. Don't even try to explain yourselves to me. We all fucking know what happened here. It's a betrayal of the highest order. It just is. Just stop. All right? You're not, I don't want you disappointed. Well, I'm fucking disappointed. More than disappointed. He's a nobody. You let a nobody wreck your antitrust division. A fucking nobody. People did time for Donald Trump. People did time for him. People lost friendships, marriages, family members, jobs, and their own liberty. And you let some nobody fucking scumbag lobbyist waltz in and derail the most MAGA agenda in the administration. It's just... Remember Philip Seymour Hoffman? What was that movie? What About Polly? Guys know what I'm talking about. Showing my age. And another great one from that era. You suspect. And then act stupid while you're down. I just don't get it. I just don't understand. Why don't they see the good I've done? Bro, economy and jobs. Wait, no. Cost of living inflation, economy and jobs, healthcare. Oh, and now number 4 is accountability and corruption. It surpassed immigration and border security, which is number 5 now. Those are the top 5 in the rank distribution for the most important voting issues in 2026. Opening an investigation into Bad Bunny. Bombing Iran for your Israeli overlords. And lobbying and pillaging the antitrust division didn't make the cut this week. That's why you're down. BB called. He said you have 2 minutes or else you get spanked. Call him back. Can I show this meme? Oh my God. Because, like, I gotta be honest with you. Like I said, in my entire career as a pollster, I've never heard some of the dire stuff I've been hearing from people. It's just terrible. It's so sad. And this meme really says it. Oh, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. It's so small, probably the way I'm going to do it. That's what one of you just sent me, locals. That's such a bad meme. That's so terrible. I just heard the sun. I just learned that the sun will eventually die. And it's a cat with a little sad face. Good. But the reason I gotta make a joke out of it. I gotta laugh about it. You gotta laugh. At some point, you gotta laugh. I'm telling you, it's a really bad week. You know? It is what it is. So folks over at Rasmussen, my peeps are saying do it. Here's the question. How likely is it that some people in the Epstein files consumed human flesh and or drank blood? Obviously, you craft the question. Woo. And thanks for that. I do have to get one of those ad blockers, you know? I got to. My audience is hardcore for my own good. Yeah. And selling out a movement for like this for like $5 million. Well, obviously there are obviously other things going on, but like the antitrust role in MAGA, the vision, right, is so central. And the problem is, I think Gail Slater got like 76 votes in the U.S. Senate. Only Marco Rubio got more votes than Gail Slater out of anyone Donald Trump nominated. What should that tell you? You think Democrats are just going to, what? Not be curious as to what happened here? And if you did think Gail was a leaker, everybody should have gone. You don't give Mike Davis, the acting attorney general that he wanted, you don't even let him show his face anymore around you. You're going to let Mike Davis derail your nomination? You're going to let Mike Davis derail your presidency? This is stupid. It's just stupid. And how much is enough? Like enough is enough. You got millions for a few deals already. Like you're such a greedy bastard that you need to stick around and fucking take everybody down with you. At that point, guys, I mean, honestly, it's like fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on who? It gets a little old. It gets a little old. It gets a little tiring. It gets a little annoying. Like, you know, blaming other people for the mistakes that the people at the top should have rectified by now. The buck stops, as old Nixon boy used to say. By the way, Nixon was innocent. Nixon was innocent. Poor bastard. Oh, God, this one's real bad. Let's just show some memes. This is fun. Oh, my God. The memes are just brutal. Brutal. I don't know. Can the Dilly meme team fight off this? I mean, this is just so bad. The memes that I've seen are, 10 to 1. You just can't memes aren't meant to gaslight. It's why they're not going to be effective. Memes aren't meant to gaslight people. They're only meant to be true, you know? And it's like, that's what makes them so good. You can't gaslight people with them. It doesn't work because people, you know, only when they're like, and the best ones are when they're absurdly true. You know what I mean? So, or when people believe that that's the case. And right now, nobody but like 25% of Trump supporters think that he's in the right with this Epstein stuff. Like, it's not even. I don't even know. I'd have to go and look. Guys, it's overwhelming. More than 70% of Republican primary voters want a candidate who will pursue the Epstein issue, not abandon it. So he's out there saying, don't worry, and her 5,000. The Dow is at $5,000. $5,000. Tell them what they want, Pat. It's just unserious. Look at this one. Oh my God. Arrest warrants, Charlie Kirk, election fraud, Epstein files, all collecting cobwebs. People knocking at the door while she listens to her what are those, Apple AirPods, you think? From Israel, probably a bribe. I'm sorry. That's what it's supposed to be. Hey, don't get mad at me. Clearly, that's what they're insinuating. And what is on her desk? Oh my God, I just noticed it. Oh my God. What is on her desk? Guys. Oh, you got this from Barnes, didn't you? Yeah, my God. Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. Oh, that's just horrible. Also made me mildly, once upon a time, look, there's no doubt. Remember when Pam was the AG, everybody thought she was fly. And it was like this huge thing, but, it's not the same anymore. Now it's like, I tried to be nice about this, but the truth is, for people who think she did so great, which is just total show behavior, she did horrible. And no objective person could say that the Epstein situation's good for Trump or not a big deal. And no objective take could claim that Pam Bondi did good. If you go through, and not just X, but Trump's most popular on X. X is the most Trump-friendly social media site. If you were to just go through X and scroll through the reactions, you're going to see absolute unanimous opposition and criticism of Pam Bondi on the left, and you will see probably 50-50 criticism of her on the right. Okay, so just pretend like she did a good job. No, she didn't. And I'm going to tell you why she didn't. She came across as what, effectively is the most hated demographic in America by every other demographic group. A overeducated, but yet still stupid, middle-aged, blonde bimbo biatch who screams at you and thinks she knows better. Let's get real. That's what she did. Now, you cannot believe that about Pam Bondi, but I'm telling you what she came across as to the rest of the country. Black men don't want to be screamed at by that. White men don't want to be screamed at by that. Hispanic men definitely don't want to be screamed at like that. And all the other women from those races think that white women are the devil. So when one comes across like that, bro, the only people who like that kind of a white woman are Democrats. Oh, that's right, because that's who they are. Right. There it is. I mean, you can stick your head up your ass all you want. I bet you're right. I bet they all get pardons. Even everything else we were just talking about, Stephen. I bet you if that reporter's onto something and they were not properly registered for certain deals, they'll get pardons. Now, their clients probably won't, but they will. And for what? Again, ruining legacy, ruining the reputation of the movement itself. For what? For who? Who is this guy? Because he was fucking on Bannon for 10 minutes? The fuck out of here, dude. It's so ridiculous. There's no other explanation. The only explanation is the one that we all just don't want to admit, and we don't like it, but it is the only one because it's true. If the Dems take the House and Senate, could that help Vance, considering the Dems' propensity to go batshit crazy? That is Vance's only hope. It's his only hope. But unfortunately, this is the problem for Vance right now. The Epstein stuff didn't come down on Vance. In fact, and if Vance's supportive people were smart on the right, they would be using the Epstein files the way that the Democrats are using the Epstein files. Like the Ro Khannas and the other Democrats, right? They don't care that they're hurting the old Democratic Guard. They don't give a shit. They're using the Epstein files to purge their ranks of pedos. It's a pedo purge. And that's great because those are also the people they feel are holding the Democratic Party back. So they can't combat Donald Trump's working class message if they don't get rid of these people. And this is their way of doing it. They look at Epstein like it's a gift, and you never look a gift horse in the mouth. Take it and use it. And the way Trump handled it, he allowed them to do it without even hurting their own party brand even more. So for all the right out there who is like, yeah, this is totally boomeranging, dude. No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. The only thing people see right now from a government and party point of view is that it's Trump's administration who tried to hide them. Full stop. And Donald Trump, Mr. President, you should ask yourself who told you to go about this strategy, who spoon-fed you this dumbass strategy, because guess what? That's the person who set you up. You'll forever be known as this now. It's just true. And Republicans, this is the saddest, most tragic thing about the Epstein files, as Democrats use them to purge their ranks and to be able to move their party into their new, you can already hear it, guys. You can hear it from Ossoff. You can hear it from Ro Khanna. You can hear it from AOC. I told you that there was a group of Democrats. Once he bombed Iran, they saw it. They already saw it with the Epstein files, the way he was bungling that. But once he bombed Iran, they said, that's it. This is how we're going to do it. The only thing holding them back was some of the old dinosaurs in their party. Well, guess what? Corporatists who like war. Corporatists who take money from Israel. Corporatists who take money from the banks on Wall Street. Guess what? What's a great way to get rid of them or to shut them up and put them in the passenger seat? Right. And Republicans, their whole goal was to destroy the ruling class, dismantle the deep state. Here you have an issue that could have been this clarion call, the rallying cry to do all of it. And instead, you're destroying yourself. It is Aaron McIntyre? He's totally right. This is easily the biggest political blunder, or one of, in American history. Donald Trump made this huge comeback. Fight. Epstein could have taken it all down. This is how he could have dismantled the deep state. This is how he could have ended never-ending wars and crushed the military-industrial complex and crushed his political opponents who tried to throw him in prison. He obviously took a different message than I think you wanted him to take, folks, from all that. So maybe, Cubes, maybe. But right now, it's hard to see. It really is. Can we get a poll going for James Fishback versus Donalds? Curious to see how Fishback is doing. Do you mean a primary poll? Maybe. You mean like a public polling project one? Like throw that, like, is that what you mean, Ed? And you don't have to do another super chat. Just reply in the YouTube chat if you hear me. If you mean like another, Yeah, I mean, Saveler complex thing. I am a little bit too. I'm just like concerned that he may have taken the wrong There's two ways you could go. They try to throw you in prison, then they try to blow your head off, and you could say, you know what, I'm coming back and I'm going to fucking destroy everything. Or you could take a kind of different lesson and say, you know what, I'm going to make sure me and mine are good, because if I get out again and they try to put me back, try to do the same thing again. I think they got a little shook, guys. I do. They're a very wealthy family. The T. James thing alone could have taken Trump's tower from him. It is his tower. It's his pride and joy. I think he may have gotten a little shook. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. It just seems like a very different man making very different decisions. And I'd be lying to you if I felt that, different. All right. It's 3:39. Holy crap. Is it really? All right. Because I know the girls have to go soon. Let me just make sure I got everybody. Yep. All right. And still 7 stars over there. Yep. Excellent. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get ready to kick rocks. As always, thanks as always, guys, for, your chats and tips and everything like that. Your super chats. Just make sure I got that one consumed. Yeah. The consuming human flesh thing. I got to tell you, I like it. I do. I like it. I like the idea of do you think, I don't know how I would say this though. Oh my God. If Pam Bondi was a waitress is hilarious. You know what? I think I'll go out with that. I'm going to go out with that. Hold on. Yeah, this is actually really good. It's from a woman named April Joy. April Joy, I guess it is. Yeah. I'm going to take it out. I'll play it on. Give me a second to download it while I give my exit spiel here. And then I'll play it for you guys while I'm going. But as usual, don't forget, if you like the video, guys, to like them, to, of course, share them and far and wide, and subscribe on anywhere you're looking at, YouTube, Rumble. The best place is always to follow, however, is on Locals, which is right there. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. Welcome to new member. Norm, been a while since I've seen you, buddy. How you been? The Public Polling Project, another really quick reminder, because I do keep seeing these reoccurrings come in. Make sure, because I can't change it. I can't change it for you. You have to go in, and if it's a reoccurring contribution, make sure it's in the right campaign. Even if the other campaign's not done yet, if it's an old campaign and I closed the books on it, it means I paid for it myself and we moved on. So make sure you cancel that reoccurring subscription. All right. And you can set one up in the new campaign if you want, which is right now, Q1 2026 polls or something, first quarter 2026. That's the one you should be in. Okay. And if you can't, even just sharing the Public Polling Project is, of course, a huge help. We're everywhere. You guys know that. We're on Getter. We're on Twitter. We're on Rumbles. We're on Local. We're on YouTube. The best place to follow along right there. peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. All right. I'll play the Pam Bondi. What if Pam Bondi was a waitress thing for people who haven't seen it. And then after that, I'll take you out with the normal music. Have a great weekend. I hope everyone has a safe one. Like I said, sometimes things can be a little bit shitty. You know what? Go watch a movie or something. If you haven't gotten a chance, just sit down. Andrew, that was good advice, by the way. I didn't get a chance to do it yet, but it is good advice. Sit down, watch a movie with the fam. We're going to have some really cool polling going on. I'm going to try to do that myself, chill out with the boys this weekend, go to the gym, stuff like that, while I watch the poll results come in. Barnes and I got some really cool questions set up for the 1776 annual poll. All right. 1776. Fine. Why do I missing up the coffee? The coffee, man. Barnes's organization that raises money to be able to defend people that are not able to defend themselves on what should be very, very important landmark cases. All right, so I'm going to play this. Again, her name's April Joy. It's funny. I laughed. And then we'll go. So thanks for sharing that. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. I'm out.
Greetings.
Hi, what are your specials?
Well, you know, it's funny. Since my time as waitress, I have completed more orders than...
Sorry, what are the specials?
Excuse me! I'm gonna answer the question when I'm good and ready. Your theatrics are ridiculous. Okay, the market price fish might be up, but the Dow is down. Oh, you can't read the menu because of redactions? How about you apologize for coming in here with a party of 11?
Ma'am, could I get a refill on water?
Did you drink the water I already gave you?
Yeah, but I want...
So you admit that I already gave you water?
Yeah, but
I
I
yield
want...
my time.
Ma'am.
Oh, so you want to complain that I gave you pickles when you said you didn't want pickles, but how about you apologize for a complicated order? I have yet to hear an apology from you, or you for that matter. What are the gluten-free options? How about you grow a pair? A turkey burger? This guy's got beef derangement syndrome over here. Give me a break.
Check, please.
You do not tell me what to do. I will get you the check when I want to get you the check.
And could I please get that with Italian dressing?
Italian dressing? In America? Just say you love illegal invaders.